things that are important. For me, it's the faith, family, and the fitness. And the finances is the key piece, the engine to help you do those things better. Correct. Right? So you don't have to dive in personally to faith or family or fitness, but just whatever priorities in life for you that are more important than money. Like, what has money allowed you to do better? Or maybe if there's a vulnerable piece of your life, like, has money like corrupted you in any way with the success you've had?
So for me, money allows me to buy companies and employ people and do things that I love. It also allows me, the reason I still get up and go to work today is for my son.
Welcome to Dan Kramer's 4F's Faith, Family, Business, Finance podcast. No matter what you're needing, Dan Kramer is going to help you grasp important concepts about business, life, family, fitness, and most of all, faith. Because as an entrepreneur, you need all 4 areas of life in order to succeed, in order to be more successful, and have exactly what you want. Subscribe to the podcast today, check out our YouTube channel, and let's get the show started with Dan Kramer and the 4F's Faith, Family, Fitness, and Finance.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is the 4F Forum where we talk about faith, family, fitness, and finances. And moving forward, you're going to see me bringing on more guests. Today, I have a pretty cool guest I met a couple times at different masterminds over the past probably 18 months. I think we've met twice now, and got to speak at the last one together at the Chris Root event. And so Michael he's done a lot of stuff in regard to being successful with real estate and businesses, but I really want to bring out his story today and then let him really just explain at like a second grade level what business acquisitions look like and how he does it, how he dives into it. And hopefully you guys can walk away with just the information, right? I didn't know anything about it really, probably 3 years ago. And now I've heard him speak twice and I still don't really know how to go out and do it. So not saying we're going to give the full course today because I'm sure there's a lot to go into it, but just want to give a high level overview and give you guys a taste of what he knows. So Michael, jump in, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and kind of what your day looks like.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on with you, Dan. Like you said, we've been at a few different masterminds together, and your story's always super inspiring as well. So I appreciate the opportunity. But absolutely. Just a little about me, I grew up in a small little town in South Carolina. There's like 12,000 people who live there. Super, super small. Not much opportunity there, right? Did pretty well in school. Ended up going to Clemson University. I had a full ride for chemical engineering. And as I was there, I started a tech company, which in turn made me decide that it would be a good idea to drop out of Clemson after about a year and a half.
Okay. Yep.
So, yep. But dropped out of school, concentrated on the tech company. I saved a little money as I went along, and I ended up buying a restaurant. It's doing pretty good, maybe $200,000 a year, $50,000 a year net. It was, it was a start, but I had a guy there that really taught me a lot about business and about, different things that, I had going on and that I really needed to learn. He was a great mentor to me. So, I really encourage everyone to get a mentor. But first off, I took that restaurant and we did about $200,000 the first year that I bought it, about $50,000 a year, that first year in net. And within 3 years, we were doing over $3 million a year there and over $1 million a year net. Operated it for about 9 years, sold it, bought another failing restaurant and nightclub, which was just an absolute disaster. But I bought it and we were losing about $4,000 a week when I bought it. And within 13 months, I'd sold it. We'd also netted over $1 million. So I turned it around, built it up with the systems, operations, and processes that I built out for the other restaurant. It was 13 months was plenty enough time in that industry,
So I was going to say the second failing operation was also a restaurant.
It was a restaurant and nightclub. It's a big,
right. Okay. So you cut your teeth in the restaurant industry and decided the heck with that, huh?
Yeah, I decided a nightclub would be cool until it was not cool anymore.
Yeah.
So sold that, got started into real estate, started buying single family homes. I built that portfolio to about 185 pieces now, single family homes. Got a property management company, a plumbing company, a heating and air company, a general contracting company, a rehab company. We do a lot of fix and flips and rehabs. I'll do somewhere between 125 and 175 of those a year. But
today, you're still doing that.
Yeah. So I started back doing fix and flips about 6 months ago. I didn't do anything from 2019 until about 6 months ago. Okay. Now we've got 16 projects in the pipeline currently. Hopefully some of those will be rolling out. Normally we try to roll one in and one out about every, really 1 to 2 a week is what the goal is. So, just ramping back up crews and all that. There at one time from 2014 to the first of 2019, I was running 7 rehab crews. We were churning along, man. But Corona happened.
Let's spend just a few minutes on that, because the people that follow me, and as you know, I got probably 5 to 9 guys working for me right now. We keep about 3 to 7 projects going at a time. And I feel like I'm just winging it, right? It's like, hey, we bought a house, we fixed it up, we sold it. I feel good about paying people. I feel good about, giving people a wage. I feel good about making some, I raise the money with my friends and investors. I feel good about giving them a return back. But how, and we talked a little bit at the last mastermind, how do you scale that? How do you build it out so I don't have my hands in so many pieces, like what advice would you say would go from like where I'm at to you running a full operation of 1 to 2 in, 1 to 2 out? And I'm sure you're hands off in a lot of those departments possibly. So like, how involved are you and how did you build it up so it can run a little more smoothly?
So I don't touch anything. Number one. All I do is I don't even write the checks. I mean, my CPA writes the checks. So, either I'll bring in the deals, or some of my guys out there on the street will find stuff and bring it in. I deal with a lot of really, people hate wholesalers in the real estate industry. I love them, man, because they bring me so many deals. I'll deal with the wholesalers, but I'll bring the deals in. It's all about your quarterbacks and each segment of the business. I've got good guys in each position, and all I do is support them from a high level. I trust them. I make sure, obviously I got to make sure they know what they're doing to start with, but the supervisors who run the crews and then the crew supervisors that supervise them, they're your key. I mean, if you get one good guy and he goes around, checks on all the crews every day, make sure that they're coming along, they're making the progress they need to make, and they're doing the job correctly the first time, man, that's your key guy, So once you get him, he can handle about 5 crews on his own, 4 to 5 crews, depending on how far out you spread. I don't do anything over an hour from my office that I'm going to do like fix and flip stuff, just because I feel like I can't efficiently service it. But you get one guy, he can handle 4 or 5 crews, and let him hire the next guy if you want to expand to more than 4 or 5 crews, because, he's going to know a lot more about, fixing and rehab and all that type stuff than I am. It's, for me, my job is to make sure I put together the correct crews and make sure I keep them work and make sure I can fund all that work. We'll all make money. And every time we do a fix and flip deal, my construction guys, they all get commission on it. So it incentivizes them to want to get out there and do a good job and do an expeditious job, because they're wanting to get through the job. They got to make sure it's right, because if they have to go back and do it, that comes out of their commission. Right. So they always do a good job. They do it right the first time. And, they normally do it in a pretty fast fashion. Yeah. But, the key to that is it's the quarterback, man. I mean, the key to that is the guy that's helping me operate those guys. He's overseeing them, making sure they're doing it correctly every time. He's out there making sure they have the materials they need and they don't have to. I mean, you're in the rehab and the construction space. how many guys that you have in the past have, they got to go to Lowe's 3 times a day, right?
Yeah.
So, if you cut all that out, it's, here it's kind of rule. I mean, it's 45-minute trip one way. They're in Lowe's 45 minutes. It takes them 45 minutes to get back. If they do that twice a day, man, I mean, you've just blown 3 to 4 hours out of your day worth of work time.
Mm-hmm.
So normally when I get over 3 to 4 crews, I'll hire me a parts runner. And his sole purpose in life is to go get stuff for the crews that need stuff from Lowe's, Home Depot, the parts supply houses, wherever they need stuff for. Once they get to the job site, they don't leave the job site until it's time to leave.
Yeah.
So that's been a real key thing for me to hire, a $15 an hour guy, put him in a truck, let him run parts all day. But you got to get enough crews in order for that to make sense too, right?
Absolutely. No, I've dealt with that on a flip, as looking at the receipts, and I've dealt with, farther than an hour away, hard to manage. So no, I appreciate all of this insight for sure. Yeah, that's cool. And I think I might have my quarterback and he'll listen to this. But just me making sure I give him the tools to succeed, that's where I feel like I'm still just kind of figuring it out, having these
give him whatever he feels like he needs, because he is your main player.
Yeah.
And if it's something where, off here that you want to sit down, me, you and him for 30 minutes or so, I'll be glad to do that for you at no charge, just to try to help you get that rolling. Cause that'd
be amazing. Yeah.
Dude, my system is it's so dummy proof that, you can't squirrel it up. As long as they show up for work, it just works, man. It works.
Well, you got to show off your skills at the last event, even when just pulling up your SOPs or whatever they call it, your standard operating procedures. So excited. So, okay, well, let's jump over to the business acquisition world. So basically, maybe break it down for this, like a second grade level. What does that actually mean? And then you can kind of dive into, more of the specifics of how you do it, if you'd like. So
for me, I started doing acquisitions. Number one, it cuts down the time frame on when I'm cash flow positive. If I needed, so what I normally did, like as I started growing the real estate business, I was looking for businesses that I was spending the most money on. Every 12 to 18 months is when I went back through and reviewed, and I went and bought one of those businesses. It wasn't about saving the most money. It was, I don't know about your market, but in my market, a lot of times if I needed something done, heat and air work or plumbing work, it was a week to 2 week lead time. Mm-hmm. And for me, the way I've grown every business that I've ever had was, a lot of businesses, I sold the same products other folks did. I just gave better customer service. And, for me, my tenants at that time were my customers. And I felt like I was never giving them good enough service until I was able to buy some of those companies of my own, because at that point I could control, when they went out there and done the job. There was no more 1 week, 2 week lead times. I felt bad for telling, a young family with a young kid, hey, it's going to be a week before we can get out there and fix your air conditioner in the middle of summer, or it's going to be a week before I can get out there and get your toilet that's overflowing fixed. That's just not me. And that's not how I've ever done business. And that was not how I was going to do it, especially in the real estate world. Mm-hmm. So, I think as you're building this stuff out, I really think it's important to see, even like for the real estate guys, to see your tenants as your customers. If you do it that way and you think about it that way, I believe you'll give them better service and continue to grow. But back to your question, I started in the acquisitions world by having to buy these other companies to support the companies that I currently had. I was growing through acquisitions instead of growing, 1 or 2 tenants at a time or 1 or 2 customers for the general contracting company at a time. I was going out and buying these companies, and I was growing 400 and 500 customers on day one with the positive cash flow. I was getting all the tools necessary, all the employees necessary, everything that I really needed. I was able to bring in some of my systems, operations, and processes, and, just skills I've acquired throughout, years of business to build these companies and double or triple them up. But, realistically, I was buying them to scale my business, number one, to be able to scale it up. But number two, to provide a better product to my customer.
Mm-hmm.
And, as I was going through that with the real estate, I saw opportunities in the tech space to buy other tech companies to roll into my company. If I needed good employees and maybe some other company had employees that I needed, in different realms, maybe programmers, maybe, whatever it was. And, they were happy where they were at instead of trying to, go get in an argument or a back and forth tussle with that company about trying to hire their employees. I just go try to buy the company.
Mm-hmm.
And it made it so much easier because at that point, everybody, those guys are getting paid for what they had built, and everybody kind of moves over and everybody's happy, right?
Yeah.
And I was able to grow. I was able to get what I needed, the technology or the employees or whatever it was that I was trying to buy the company, or some of the companies I bought just for the customers. So that's a super good play too, if you're out there thinking about what to do. But, I've continued to buy companies just in stuff that I like and that I know I can add value to. I've got 18 companies currently under management, do around 140 million a year in sales, but it all started at, kind of ground zero.
And ground zero was how long ago?
Ground zero was 23 years ago, Dan. Showing my age, man.
23 years ago. But when did you, they say a business, it's not like a linear growth, right? It's an exponential. When do you feel like your uptick really started moving? Was it 10 years ago already, or was it like really in the last 5 years you exploded? Or talk about that a little bit.
Probably 10 or 12 years ago.
Yeah.
One of the real things that I saw that really transferred growth for me was probably 10 or 12 years ago. I was doing a lot of things, wearing a lot of hats. I was everything to everyone. And man, it was just, it was tough. I never felt like I was getting anything done, even though I was still making good money. But, I just felt like I wasn't accomplishing anything. And
Mm-hmm.
I took a piece of paper and I drew a line down the middle and I wrote what I liked to do on the left and what I hated doing on the right. And the next morning I put ads out to hire somebody to do all the stuff that I hated. It was a few different people, but at that point it freed me up to do the stuff that I enjoyed. Number one, I did a much better job at it because I wasn't doing stuff that really sucked.
Yeah.
And, number two, those people that I hired, they enjoyed doing whatever that task was as much as I enjoyed doing whatever my tasks currently were.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I went from doing a couple $100,000 a year to probably 4 million the next year. So
Yeah.
it was a 10x plus growth just by doing that.
Yeah. What's the hardest thing today that you do? Like the biggest challenge that you got to work through day in and day out?
Day in and day out, the biggest challenge is, just, man, really my operation is pretty smooth, honestly. My biggest challenge day in and day out is doing due diligence on companies that I'm looking at buying. I've got 3 I'm trying to get closed before the end of the year. So it's really a time crunch on, trying to, for lack of better terms, uncover the bodies in the closets, trying to figure out exactly what it is that I'm buying so I don't buy a trap. Yeah. But, really, man, my stuff is so streamlined, and my quarterbacks and all my employees are good people. It's taken me years to get to that point, but really it's just about the people.
Yeah. How often do you meet with your quarterbacks?
On like a set meeting, normally once a week or so, but they all have my cell phone number. So if they need something, they call, and they all call multiple times during the week.
Yeah. Weekly set meeting. And what's that set meeting look like? Is it like run on EOS or like the traction model or kind of what's your structure?
My structure is, 10 or 15 minutes on, hey, what's going on through the past week? What we got lined up for the next week or two? And what do you need from me to be able to help you accomplish those goals? It's super simple, bare bones, there is no rocket science involved. It's, what have we done in the past? What are we looking to do in the near future? What are we looking to do in the long term? And what do you need from me to help you accomplish that goal? How can I help? I want to help you help me.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and let's say somebody's fallen off track. I'm sure you had to go through that. What's your checks and balances systems? How do you find out you might have to let them go, or maybe you got to just course correct a little bit?
I don't mind hopping in there if they're off track a little bit, hopping in there and, going through it, building some things to hold them accountable on a day-to-day and a week-to-week basis, setting goals for them and helping them.
Yeah.
I think business is just like anything else, man. You get out of it what you put in. If you hire good folks and you really try to help them and you really try to help them grow as a person, not only as a business person, but, personally, and you do the right thing every time, man, you're just going to win. There's no way you can't.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, that's what I've found. Are there bad people out there? Absolutely they are. But at the end of the day, those guys are going to weed themselves out. They're going to show themselves out the door. You won't have to. If they're not fit for the job, another thing about me is, I like to hire fast. I also like to fire fast. If you're not going to fit into the culture that I've built and you're not a team player and you're not like everybody else that I have, you just do whatever it takes to get the job done, you're just not a good fit. It's not that I don't like you personally. It's just, you just don't fit into what I've built.
Yeah. How many people are you managing today as far as your whole, not like when you acquire a company and you take over all those employees, but maybe how many key people help run your operations?
Overall, I've got about 135 employees across the companies, but right now I've got probably 20 to 25 key folks that, I'll converse with on, a weekly or sometime daily basis, depending on where the company's at, what help it needs, what we're trying to do for growth, So, but I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if any of the employees had a question or a problem, they could all pick up the phone and call.
So I can go all day, as you know, trying to do some of this myself, and I definitely will take you up on some personal calls after. But let's switch gears to you kind of personally. You've obviously seen success for a long time and sustained success. What has that done for you personally in your things that are important? For me, it's the faith, family, and the fitness, and the finances is the key piece, the engine to help you do those things better. Correct. Right? So you don't have to dive in personally to faith or family or fitness, but just whatever priorities in life for you that are more important than money. Like, what has money allowed you to do better? Or maybe if there's a vulnerable piece of your life, like, has money corrupted you in any way with the success you've had?
So for me, money allows me to buy companies and employ people and do things that I love. It also allows me, the reason I still get up and go to work today is for my son. I've got a 13-year-old son and he enjoys business as well. As much as you can at 13, right? Yeah. But it allows me to go do cool stuff with him. It allows me to take him on some of my business trips, especially like when he's out during the summer out of school. Yeah. I take him, I try to take him anytime I go on a trip. So he listens and learns, but it allows me to do that. If I had a regular W-2 corporate job making 80 or 100 grand a year, I wouldn't have that opportunity. Right. And money has allowed me to buy things that he likes, buy companies that he likes. I bought a forestry mulching company. It ties right into the real estate company, and it allows me to, do grading and tree removal and stuff in some of the properties that I'm buying to upfit to put houses on. But, my 13-year-old son enjoys it. I mean, how many 13-year-old kids wouldn't like to get out there and run a 15,000 pound, skid steer? Yeah. It's not opportunities that normal kids get every day, right? And I'm super big on giving him those opportunities. Number one, to let him figure out what it is that he really likes in life,
Mm-hmm.
but, just giving him opportunities that, that's why I got into real estate to start with. I travel a lot for work. If something were to happen to me, I want him to have, the best chance that he can have. I got into real estate for the passive, if you want to call it passive. I don't think anything's passive, but for the residual income. So in case something happened to me, he could cruise on out of here, get through college, have enough money to do what he needs to do. And then, he would have something one day on his own.
Mm-hmm.
But, really that's what money has allowed me to do. It's allowed me to do more things with my son, and it's allowed me to give more people jobs, be able to give back to my community. I do a lot of stuff around here with the children's homes and like the boys' homes. I do a lot with those guys. It allows me to do that. Money's just a tool, man. That just as well as anyone, right? It's just a tool.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody out there, if after you get to making 150, 200 grand a year, you can pay your bills, you can eat, you can go do, whatever kind of recreational activities you want to do with your family or loved ones. But, anything over that, it's just a tool that you should use to do whatever you need to do to satisfy yourself or your employees with, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you had any experiences through the last 23 years where maybe you mishandled money and it kind of was steering you in a wrong direction personally and you had to, of course, correct?
For sure. When I was a great example, the nightclub scenario, I bought the nightclub. I thought it would be something cool to do. And it was cool for the first few months, but that wasn't where I should have been.
Yeah.
So, I did great by growing it. I was able to apply those, the systems, operation, and processes to grow that to where I could resell it, and get a good fee for it. But, I knew 6 months in, it was time to sell.
Mm-hmm.
So
not the environment you want to be in every day.
Not conducive to family life, man.
Yeah.
Not conducive to family life. And I knew I didn't want to, long term, I didn't want to be around that environment for the rest of my life. It's just, you know how it is.
So you obviously, I feel for the average person to go out and have the mind that you have and that you created for yourself to do the systems and processes to be successful, it's an uphill battle. But let's say somebody's listening to this. I look at business as just another asset class. And for those that don't own business, maybe they think the only option in business is to, start from the ground up and have to grind and make it through the 5 years and then maybe see some success. So teach them maybe a little, what does acquiring a business do? How can it speed it up? And how can maybe a more average person, maybe they do have a W-2 job and their household income's 200,000, but they're like, I'm sick of the stock market. My 401k is not growing. I do like real estate, but I also, maybe they want to invest in businesses. What could be a next step for them, or maybe a 6-month goal for them to maybe acquire a business, and keep their normal lifestyle? Yeah,
for sure. So, you got to look. Like I told you, when I grew up, I didn't have anything growing up. It was, we had enough to survive, but, we didn't get to go do all the fun stuff. And that was, it was okay. It made me who I am today, but you don't have to have a gazillion dollars to go buy a business. There's so many different options out there. The SBA has a loan program. The SBA is the Small Business Administration, and they have a loan program where you can pay 10% down. They'll finance 90% of it. So, if your average person out there's got, say they've got 200 grand stuck in the stock market or 401k or whatever, they're looking to buy a business. Man, you can go buy a $2 million business that's normally spitting off $500,000 to $700,000 in net cash flow for that same $200,000 down that they're fiddling around with in the stock market. So you really got to think about that. And now the
Mhm.
SBA's got some stuff out to where, depending on industry experience, they'll take even 5% down. So, for $100,000, you can get started in a $2 million business that's netting $500,000 to $700,000. I mean, that's where the gold really comes in. And yes, it's $2 million, but you're paying these people for already establishing this business, getting the customers, growing the business to where it's at. You're looking for something that, you can pay for in 4 or 5 years with the proceeds of the business, as long as, you're still making a little bit yourself from it. But you're really looking for a good quarterback in those businesses too. You don't want to go buy something that you're going to have to go work in the day to day with your head down, right? You want to buy something that you can work on, not work in. And I think that's super important. And, a lot of times, a lot of people come to me, especially some of my students, and ask, well, what, I don't have much to get started, or I've got a little bit. I've worked W-2 for all these years, and, I've got, a couple hundred saved up. And, how do I get into a business, or what qualifies me to buy a business? And I just go to remind them, man, even if you don't have anything, if you don't have anything, there's only one way to go, and that's up. So here's the thing. If you don't have anything and you try it and you fail, you still don't have anything. But if you try and you go buy something and you succeed, now you got something, right? Mm-hmm. So, that's one way they got to go look at it. That's always been my mindset. And, how I got to where I was at, I just wasn't scared to make a mistake. We all make mistakes, and we're going to make mistakes. And, I know that I'm going to continue to make mistakes, because that's what I learned. I don't really, even if I have a bad deal or something goes sideways, I don't look at it as a loss. I look at it as a lesson. So, as long as you learn from it, it's just a lesson. Some lessons cost more than others.
Yeah. So I'm getting to know you a little bit. You don't seem like the flashy, showy guy that's building money just to buy the Lambo for the pictures, right?
You'll never see me in a Lambo, I promise.
So, but how can people follow you, find you? You said you have students. I mean, are you on social? You got a website? Like, I'm interested personally. I mean, I feel like what I'm trying to even build with the flipping company, it's like, dude, why don't I just hire you? So when you say students, do you like coach everything, or are you coaching specifically for them to buy a business, or what is that? What's your coaching program look like?
My coaching program, I do mostly for mergers and acquisitions, people that are in W-2 that are looking to get out of the rat race, looking to buy something of their own, people that want to become an entrepreneur and don't know how, or, people that currently have a small business and they've just grown to that top level and feel like they can't grow anymore. I help those guys be able to grow through acquisitions or mergers. Mm-hmm. And, I've put about 500 students through the program in the past 2.5 years. Wow. And I can tell you over the last probably 15 to 18 months, they've bought about $85 million worth of deals. So it's working, right?
So of those 500 students, how many would you say have seen success or made an acquisition? I mean, is it
acquisition
like
only? Probably a little over 100 of them. Yeah. Some of them have done mergers that haven't done acquisitions. That maybe they've merged with a competitor or merged with someone in the next town over to build a bigger business. Some of them have bought other small companies to roll up into their company to grow their company. So probably 100 to 150 of those.
Yeah. And so that leaves like 350. Like, obviously with any coaching program, it's not a spend the coaching fee and instant success. So why did the 350 possibly not make an acquisition or a merger to improve themselves? Or what would make someone fail going into your coaching program?
So I've got about 45 or 50 other folks that just haven't got one across the line that are working on a deal currently.
Yeah.
So anytime that I see someone that doesn't buy something, either they're just there to consume the information, or they get scared. They don't want to pull the trigger. They're scared that they'll make a mistake, but most of the time, changes in their life circumstances But most of the time, it's just they don't do the work, man. If you do the work, it works.
Yeah.
It absolutely works. If
Yep.
it didn't, I wouldn't have the stuff I've got today. And those 150 students wouldn't have the things they have either.
Yeah. No, and that's with any, I mean, the
You got to
people
do the
that
work
are
with any
listening
program.
yeah, the people listening this far into the podcast, they know, that it only works if they work, right?
Right.
So, but no, that's exciting. How about like mentorship for someone like me? Well, I mean, what would that look like with overseeing, my 2 crews and 4 or 5 flips, I think we've done maybe 10 flips, but growing that, and then helping me have the tools and the wherewithal of when to acquire a company. Like you said, HVAC. I mean, that is my number one expense, hands down. It's like, yeah, I should buy an HVAC company, but I don't know how to do that. So like what would the mentorship program look like without just a specific, like, I just want to acquire a company? No, I want the whole mentorship from here to wherever I'm going,
Right. I offer a few different options with stuff like that, but a lot of that's, a lot more one-on-one stuff, group coaching call every week. So, I mean, if they're interested, they can, go follow me online or, Facebook's probably the best place to go get in touch with me, or they can go to my website, acquisitionceo.com.
Okay.
And I've got a form on there they can fill out for where they can contact me.
I love it. Okay, cool. We'll put some.
And it tells you a lot more about, what I do. And there's a lot of testimonials on there from my students. I don't have to tell you what I've done for them. Let them tell you. There's probably 30 testimonials on there from different students on how I've helped them and different aspects of, we've got 45 minutes or an hour here, but I mean, there's probably 2 hours worth of testimonials on there that tell you about just my students telling you the different weirdo situations they've got in and how I helped them get out of it and how I helped them get the deal done. And it's just a lot of cool stuff on there.
Yeah. Well, no, it's life-changing too. And for those, let's call them normal people, right? You're told to go to school, get a job, get a good grade, get the benefits at work, plug away. And 40 years later, the average person retires with 200,000 in their 401k.
That's it.
I mean, those are the numbers, right? And it's like, that's scary. So you can't fail by trying something like this, even if you fail,
right?
Because you learn something and you're going to go do it again. And one acquisition
could change your life.
Exactly. So no, if like I said, if you're listening this far, just I get excited hearing this stuff, because even one rental property will change your life, not for the cash flow, not for, that one asset, but for the skills to do it again.
Yep. You learn a ton.
And, and you talk to a W-2 employee, the thought of having 10 rentals is like, wow, you did it. Right. Well, 10 rentals, as you know, let's say each of them does $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 profit. Yeah, it's nice. It'll get you there. It'll replace your W-2 income. But I'm at the point, and that's where I'm excited to have you on too. It's like, how do you exponentially grow? And I love you almost like monopolize the game a little bit. Like, hey, if I control all the things I need to do this one avenue better, right, it's only going to go up. But to me, that's a little scary. I'm not there yet. That's why I'm excited to maybe follow up with you. And
can't be scared, man. You just got to get out there and get after it.
Yeah. I love it. Well, any final question ish, like maybe it'll lead to another question, but where are you heading? Like what are you shooting for? What's success look like in your eyes? And when are you going to maybe step back a little, or maybe you already have, or what? Yeah. Tell us a little bit about where you're heading, because you're not that old. You got some time left to kick around on the earth here. What's the next 40 years look like for you?
And I just want to keep buying companies, keep building good stuff, having good employees, giving people opportunities, giving people jobs. I want to build something for my son to take over and run if he wants to. If not, no problem. we'll go buy him something that he wants to do. Right.
Yeah.
So, but, my goal is just to keep on growing. I don't have a number goal, at the end of the day. I mean, like I said, money's only a tool. How many, you got to have somebody with a foot to be able to use a shovel. So how many shovels do you need, right? Depending on how many people you have with a foot, right?
Yeah.
So, it's the number's not a goal. It's just, I want to continue to do good business. I want to continue to be able to provide for my family and my employees' family, and, see where it goes from there.
Yeah. I love that. So what is maybe the most irresponsible purchase you've made, seeing as you're I look at you as more of a modest guy that's has no desire to flash the money around you've made. So like, what does that look like for you? Is it an expensive trip that you normally wouldn't go on? And do you have like a hobby where you throw some money out once in a while, or what?
So my son loves aviation, airplanes. So I do spend a decent amount of money on, I've got 2 planes, looking to buy a third, but I do spend money on that. We'll fly somewhere on the weekends and go grab something to eat, maybe a 30 or 40-minute flight away. He enjoys that. So for me, being able to give him that and being able to give him those experiences, and, that's worth it to me. Is that wasting money? I don't know. Some people probably consider it is, but
you're the pilot.
No, I've got a full-time pilot.
Oh, okay. So somebody flies it for you.
Yeah. So,
okay.
But, he's got enough hours currently. I mean, he's only 13. He's got enough hours to be able to go take the test, but you can't take the test till you're 17. So we keep joking with him. He'll have a pilot's license before he has his driver's license. But I mean, that kid, he'd rather fly an airplane than eat when he's hungry. So
I love that. That's cool. Well, awesome. Any final remarks? Otherwise, we can wrap this one up, and super grateful you're able to come on today.
Man, I really appreciate the opportunity, like I said, for you to have me on and get to talk to you guys and your audience a little bit. I appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Thanks again.